picture. On Tuesday, Governor Christie delivers his final budget address. Cliff Goldman is the author of a recent op-ed on the website New Jersey Almanac. Goldman was state treasurer under Governor Brendan Byrne from 1976 to 1982, and in the op-ed he walks the reader through a generation of fiscal gimmicks and mistakes. It began in the 90s with Governor Whitman's $2.8 billion pension bond scheme. It continued in the 2000s with Governor McGreevy's tobacco bond securitization scheme. Then there was the tax on phone bills designed to enhance the 911 emergency system, $1 billion collected, all of it plowed back into the state budget, and many other fund diversions and instances of borrowing to balance the state budget. Cliff, I read your op-ed, and it was kind of a litany of fiscal gimmicks and fiscal sins. What do you see when you look back on the last 20 years?
It's a little sad. When I was in office, and even before, under Governors Hughes, Cahill, and Byrne, and actually for the next two governors, Kane and Florio, New Jersey was a fiscal powerhouse, AAA rated, the only one in the Northeast, fully funded pensions, low debt, and now all of that has been reversed over 20 or 25 years of mismanagement. Yeah,
we were looking at your op-ed yesterday, and we retitled it 20 Years of Fiscal Irresponsibility. It seems to have started with the 1997 pension bond, Governor Whitman's pension bond issue, a kind of complicated borrowing scheme.
It's actually started in '94 when they changed the pension fund formula, lowering it greatly and paying it back about now with accumulated interest that didn't get earned, and also taking the health care retirement benefits, which had been accumulating in a fund, and using it to balance the budget that year.
You're saying that they increased the amount of the pension but didn't increase the payment?
No, they took the payment schedule, which was a general sloping gradual curve. They lowered it, what the state had to put in, kept it low for 10 or 15 years, and then it would shoot up like a hockey stick.
So do you let the pension bond issue off the hook? I don't think so.
No, then the pension bond issue is another one. And there is the first instance where the court played a negative role, allowing it. It should not have been allowed. The court did other things. It said that the state did not have to appropriate money into the pension funds.
So according to your column, we went maybe 20 years without putting any money in?
We put a little in. When McGreevy came in 2001, he inherited a $6 billion budget gap, and there was no way he could deal with that. They did raise the corporate tax, but they put zero in the pension fund. And the reason that it was a problem was that Governor Whitman borrowed money in '97 to cover all the years of pension appropriations. So when that 5-year period ran out, someone had to reinstitute a pension appropriation. They couldn't do it.
I'm not sure I understand that. Whitman's bond issue, are we paying for that today so she could balance the 1998 budget, 97 budget?
Correct.
We're paying for it today?
Today.
How much?
Well, it'll get to $500 million in a couple of years.
Total or per year?
Per year.
$500 million per year?
Well, it was structured the same way as the pension fund. Low initial payments going out and then shooting upwards.
And that was to enable her to borrow for
to
1 year's budget?
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, put money in the pension fund for 5 years. When that ran out, McGreevy could not reinstitute a pension appropriation on top of all the other problems.
And then McGreevy pulled off a similar move with tobacco bonds. Explain that one to us.
Well, he, in order to meet that $6 billion gap, besides raising the corporate tax, not putting money in the pension fund. He borrowed money to balance the budget. That was permitted by the '97 court decision on the pension bonds, and McGreevey did it 3 times. The third time, your guest Leonard Lance sued and won. and the court said it was unconstitutional, something they could have said in '97. But they let him do it one more time.
Explain the securitization of the tobacco settlement. That seems to be another egregious step.
He borrowed money against the tobacco settlement revenue that was coming into the state.
How much was that, roughly?
I don't really remember.
Roughly?
I don't.
Okay.
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah. And Corzine refunded those bonds and saved $60 million a year that could now go into the state treasury instead of into the bonds, which is a very good move. Then those bonds were recently refunded again, so that the $60 million was pledged to...
By Christie?
Yes. That was pledged to the paying off the bonds that were ordinarily going to come due in 2041 and probably would not have been paid. They were rated CCC because tobacco use is declining.
So are we paying today for McGreevey being able to balance his budget in 2002 or 3 or 4 or whatever it was?
Yes, we're paying for that. We're going to lose $60 million a year for the next 7 years because of freeing up the 2041 bondholders from possibly not getting repaid. But I don't think anyone could catalog all the things that have been done over the last whatever years to keep the budget in balance.
Gimmicks.
Gimmicks. And cuts.
And cuts.
And cuts. I mean, they cut. I was a financial advisor to cities over these last few years, and they cut huge amounts from the cities, which caused them to reduce the police departments, the fire departments. They closed the libraries in the cities. These have effects that are serious, but no one knows about them.
You write that the great public investments that we made in New Jersey that paid off in terms of economic growth were all made 25 to 60 years ago. We don't make those kind of investments anymore?
We've made a few. I don't want to belittle the steps that have been taken. We did the Newark Arena that we're right by here. I worked on that. They did the Highlands, which was good. Christie Whitman built a railroad to Camden, which was good. But most of the impressive growth of New Jersey is based on what happened under Hughes, Cahill, and Byrne, and Kane and Florio.
Is that a result of history or of poor fiscal management?
It's a little of both. I think this is important for the younger viewers. And when I say younger, I mean 40 and under. The purpose of government, didn't matter which party in those years, was to accomplish something. If a problem arose, you tried to solve it right away. If an opportunity arose, you tried to take advantage of it. And if a bad thing was posited, you tried to get rid of it, like a dam at Tox Island or putting a turnpike extension through the Pinelands. And a lot was done in those years, and the government was very professional, very accomplished. It has been less so in recent years, partly because they don't have the money, and partly because they don't look at things that way.
You wrote that the state's finances begin collapsing in 2021. Is that the first time a pension fund is scheduled, one of the 5 pension funds is scheduled to run out of money? What did you mean by collapse in 2021?
Okay, well, this comes out of a state bond issue official statement, which is more likely to be truthful. It's not always truthful, but more likely to be truthful. And in 2014, the bond prospectus said the pension funds would be depleted. That means zero in 2021 for judges, 2024 for PERS, state employees, and 2027 for teachers, which the state pays. And when it means depleted, it means there's no money, not even including the amount that the employees have put in. When that happens, I don't know what happens. It would take $8 billion, someone told me, to pay per year to cover the pensions.
That's 25% of the state budget, roughly.
Correct. And the state budget is also short on several accounts. So there's not much room to, you couldn't find $8 billion without turmoil. And I don't know what will happen. I suppose it'll be up to the court, in which I have very little faith in.
One of your more recent predecessors, Andrew Sidman Aristoff, who was Chris Christie's first treasurer, put his own op-ed out this week saying, look to the federal government to step in and solve this pension crisis that exists in many, many states and municipalities across the country. Is that a new thought to you, or is that something that you would anticipate?
I doubt that it'll happen, but it's good to be hopeful. I mean, I look at Puerto Rico and what they did there. So I don't think the federal government has the amount of money it would take to solve this pension problem, especially in democratic states.
So talk to those people under 40 again. What should we do about the situation we find ourselves in?
We need a governor and a legislature that will take it as a problem to be solved. I'm not sure what the solution is. I'm not sure there is a solution. But it's one of the problems we've had is that the recent governors, I'm not just talking about this one, but a series of recent governors have just let this problem fester and not taken steps to deal with it. And as that happens, it gets worse and worse.
Do we need to raise taxes?
We probably do. I saw you interview someone from the Pension Commission, and you asked them a very good question. Were there any restrictions placed on your commission? And he said no, but there were. And one of them was, don't talk about taxes.
All right, well, we'll see how it plays out. Thank you for laying out the dimensions of a pretty serious problem for us.
Very serious. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Cliff. Joining us now